What's up, everyone, and welcome to the weekly Q&A. Starting with our Patreon questions, Mateusz Grabowski, Jack Mountford, Diabologist, and Nay214 all ask if Tales of the Jedi will retcon the Ahsoka novel or Dooku Jedi Lost.
Yeah, so we're talking about the trailer that was released at D23. Also, apparently there were leaks about this there were leaks about Tales of the Jedi months ago, I think. I remember working very hard to avoid them, and I successfully did. I don't know what the leaks are, but I remember back then people talking about, oh, there goes Filoni retconning things again, or changing stuff from books and comics or what have you. So I guess I'm thinking that there will be some changes. It's always possible that the leaks, whatever they were, I mean, they're leaks, they're rumors, they're not confirmed. But let's just say that something about the Ahsoka novel changes and something about Dooku Jedi Lost changes. I don't know. I guess I'm used to it at this point. It doesn't really bug me.
I mean, I don't know anything about the leaks either, but if these characters are characters that Filoni created, if he wants to change something, that's in his right to do it. I do remember seeing E.K. Johnston a month or so ago tweeting about the possibility of Ahsoka novel retcons, and she had a lot of good things to say. She's just like, it was my story. If he wants to change things here or there, that's it. That's totally fine. That's his right to do that. But I don't think there's going to be any big retcons.
What I am expecting is basically something along the lines of the Bad Batch and the Kanan comic, where yeah, some details are different in the telling of what happened, but if you take a step back and look at like galactic history, broad strokes are still the same. I think that's probably what will happen again. So just based off of even people talking about the trailer, and everyone was like, oh, so is that the sixth brother, the Inquisitor that Ahsoka is facing, who she faces in the Ahsoka novel? Are they going to change some details about their confrontation? Maybe. I think it would be cool to see that happen on screen, to see her potentially purify the red lightsaber crystals on screen to make her white lightsabers. This is all stuff that I think when E.K. Johnston wrote the novel, it was like, there's no chance of us doing more of the Clone Wars. There's no chance of us telling this story. It's kind of the same as when the Cassian and K2 comic came out. They were like, let's tell a story about how they met, because we're never going to explore these characters again. Mm-hmm. And then come to find out years later, they're like, oh, Disney Plus is a thing, and this could be a good show, and we're probably going to get a new version of their meeting. Like, I think that there needs to be a little flexibility on that. But really what it comes down to, and the way I view it all, is that this is a mythology. Star Wars is a mythology. And if you look at classic mythology, like, people will tell the same story in different ways. It depends on the storyteller. So E.K. Johnston told one version, Dave Filoni's going to tell another, or whoever wrote that episode. And then I think it's up to us, the viewer, the audience, to decide what is canon for us. Like, find your own truth in there. Be like, I really liked that from the Ahsoka novel, but I also like this from Tales of the Jedi. And then it's like, this is supposed to be just stories passed down to us from a long, long time ago. And I know I'm someone that likes it all to fit together perfectly, but that's not going to always be the case. And so this is just my mindset. When the details don't line up, it's like, all right, well, I'll just do my best to make it work.
Well said. Oh. The only other thing I have to add is, like, we've talked about this before, where I think the books and the comics, the details are a lot more fluid. When you start getting into animated series and then live action, they're going to make the details a lot more clear in, like, animated and live action shows. And yeah, we get new information, we get new stories being told. It's going to change a little bit over time. That's just how storytelling works. Yeah,
and I think that despite their best efforts and the initial announcement, kind of when they were like, we're rebooting the Star Wars canon or whatever, and they're like, we're doing books and comics, and like we're gonna oversee it all, and it's all gonna fit together. Like that was a really nice statement to make, and it seems unavoidable at this point. But there are tiers to canon. There used to be in Legends as well, and we were like, no more tiers, yay! And now it's like, nah, there still are to a degree. Like most people are gonna watch the films, and it's like that's kind of the most, I don't know, pure thing, the truest we're going to get to an actual history. And then it's like live action shows and then animation, and like the farther down that funnel you get, yeah, the more likely that at some point it might change. I still think I still hope those things will be few and far between, but it's going to happen. It's, to quote Battlestar Galactica, all of this has happened before and it will happen again.
Trevin Pettigrew wants to know what we want to see in Season 2 of Tales of the Jedi.
We talked about this at DragonCon on our speculation panel. I think we talked about it on our live stream recently. And then in the trailer breakdown, I talked about what I wanted to see. So I've had some time to think about this, but I think my one choice, if we could get one Jedi to focus on for 3 episodes that we don't know much about at all, it would be Tar Vizsla. Because that's a story that's been kind of like trickling out over the years, I guess since the Darksaber was revealed, but then in Star Wars Rebels, we got Tar Vizsla's name, the first Mandalorian Jedi. He's brought up again in The Mandalorian and the Book of Boba Fett, so I think that would be a great one to kind of kill 2 birds with 1 stone. It's like you're telling us a lot about a Jedi we don't know about, who's also a Mandalorian and ties into the story of the Mandalorian and the Darksaber and everything going on. So I think there would be some good corporate synergy there, but it would also be very intriguing to Star Wars fans.
Yeah, I would love to see a short episode just on the Darksaber itself. Like that would answer so many people's questions, and I bet Filoni would have a lot of fun with something like that because the Darksaber shows up in so many other shows. I would love to see some sequel trilogy stuff between Rey and Finn. Just what are they doing after episode 9? How is Rey moving forward for the Jedi Order? Is she training Finn? How does Finn feel about it? Like anything post episode 9 between those two, especially after we got the Lego summer vacation movie, and you know the ghost of the Force ghost of Obi-Wan Kenobi is calling Finn a Jedi. So that is pretty cut and dry, in my opinion.
Yeah, I loved that in the Lego Summer Vacation. That it's one of my favorite lines of Obi-Wan showing up and saying, "I sensed a Jedi in need," and Finn's like, "Oh, Rey's back over there," and he's like, "No, you, Finn." Like other Jedi see Finn as a Jedi, and the Rise of Skywalker didn't fully go into that. It just like barely touched upon it, but it made it a thing. So like follow through on it, and I think it's good to get out of the prequel era. It's easy to stay in the prequel era because that's where most of the Jedi are. So I would be down to really explore Yaddle or Oppo Rancisis or Yar El Poof. Like there are plenty of behind the scenes Jedi that I would not mind at all getting their stories or their tales. The original trilogy, there's not nearly as much. I guess you could tell like a Cal Kestis story. We could go into the High Republic or something, but yeah, I guess in season 2, I would like to just see more variety in the eras. But also to season 1's credit, the Dooku stuff is pretty intriguing. This might be like our first pre-episode 1 on-screen content. Mm-hmm. So I'm excited for that. And then Ahsoka is just like, we have so many Ahsoka stories. Like I want to get into just lesser known characters. That's really my biggest hope. More variety in eras, more variety in characters, and maybe more episodes, maybe more than just 6, but I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see how the first season goes.
I was listening to Force Center podcast earlier today, and I think it was Ken Knapsack that mentioned it would be cool if this was an ongoing series, but other seasons were Tales of the Rebellion, Tales of insert word here, Tales of the Empire would be cool.
Tales of the Sith. Yeah, sure. I hadn't thought of that they could twist it, not just more Tales of the Jedi, but Tales of the blank. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's cool too.
Damien Vonderhaar asks what our favorite thing from D23 was.
Well, I would want to say probably Indiana Jones 5 stuff, but we didn't get to see anything.
Yeah, we weren't there, so we didn't get to see the footage that was shown.
I've read descriptions of the footage, and I'm like, okay, sounds good. Show it to me. I'm just thirsty for any Indiana Jones news. The Star Wars stuff felt pretty expected. Mm-hmm. Like, nothing surprised me in Star Wars. It was just cool to get a bunch of trailers and stuff.
Yeah, I think the Mando Season 3 stuff was the most excited I've been for the Star Wars stuff at D23, since, you know, everything we got before was what we remembered from Celebration, if you were in the room for that, and then pirated cell phone crappy footage from YouTube. So now we have a high resolution, like, good looking trailer, lots and lots of stuff happening in Season 3. It looks like a much larger scale story being told, so it's cool to see all the different Mandalorians and the quacky and monkey lizards. All that stuff was really fun. Aside from Star Wars, though, The Little Mermaid looks amazing.
Yeah, that's
so excited.
I don't think we've seen a single live action remake.
Not the Disney ones,
right? Yeah, a single live action Disney remake. They just have not interested me because they seem like shot-for-shot recreations, but something about The Little Mermaid, I was like, I'm into that one. Probably because they're doing something different with it, something different and unique, instead of just like, it's The Lion King, but they look real.
Yeah.
Like, I just never love you, Jon Favreau, but I don't get the appeal for me personally. Yeah. I haven't tried it, though, so I shouldn't knock it until I try it. But
I've heard good things about the Aladdin live-action remake, but yeah, they just haven't really interested me because I was so in love with all the original Disney versions that, like, I don't need to see a remake of a lot of those. But Little Mermaid was one of my favorites growing up. I think the actress that they have playing her looks amazing, sounds amazing. Her voice is incredible.
Listening to her sing, it was like, damn.
It's going to be good.
You were telling me about the other cast members, and I was like perking up too. Daveed Diggs, I think you said, is in it. Love him. He's a Star Wars alum too.
Yep.
He was in Star Wars Resistance.
What's his name?
Javier Bardem.
No
Country for Old Men? That guy?
He is playing her father.
Really?
He is King Triton.
Huh. Yeah, see, I don't know anything about, other than it was happening, I don't know anything else about.
I have my own thoughts on Melissa McCartney as Ursula. We'll see how that plays out. Should have been Lizzo.
Well, I'll shift gears one more time and say that the Willow trailer really surprised me. It surprised me at Star Wars Celebration. Like, I liked Willow growing up, and I was like, oh, a series, I'll watch that. I don't know. They're like really nailing it for me. It just feels like watching Willow, but maybe even a little bit better. Like, the tone just feels good in just the trailer. Who knows what the series will be like, but it's got comedy and whimsy, but also just this magical scope that's really drawing me in. So I'm super pumped for the Willow series.
Yeah, it doesn't seem as like silly and goofy as the original one. They're taking it a little bit more seriously.
I'm sure there will be some good jokes. I mean, the brownies are back, and there are a couple shots of like Willow falling over laughing, but they just seem so charming. Like, nothing about it seems over the top goofy.
A lot more magic too.
Yeah, which I really like.
Yeah. And
I love how badass they made Warwick Davis look. Mm-hmm. He's a badass.
He deserves it.
Yeah. Love that for him.
Sarah Black wants to know if we'll see other familiar High Republic Jedi in the Young Jedi Adventures.
We don't know exactly when it's going to take place, if it is at the same time as all the books and comics, or it could be a little before that. Like, the High Republic era spans at least 200 years, so it could take place anywhere in there. I think I saw that Cavan Scott had something to do with the Young Jedi Adventures. That's what it's called, right? Mm-hmm. So if he did, then I could see some of our fan favorite book characters popping up.
I assume we'll see at least one or two, especially the species that are going to be around for a long time, the older ones.
Yeah, we know Yoda, but
yeah.
They pointed out like Cantum Sai, Torben Buck. They both worked with younglings and Padawans quite a bit.
Yeah. If Geode isn't in it, I'll be a little sad. I don't know how he could show up, but I want that to happen.
I think that would be an interesting challenge to pull off, because part of what makes Geode work in the books is being able to describe his emotional state, and then you just question, like, what does that look like? Or what he's doing. Like, he's flirting with someone, and you're like, how? But everyone in the universe treats it as if, like, yeah, he's flirting with me.
Yeah.
So
he could always just be doing things just off screen, and then when someone points it out, the main character looks over, and then he's just a rock.
yeah, I do think it's possible. They pulled it off in the comics well, so I'm sure that it could be an effective running joke, and I would like to see them at least attempt it, because yeah, Geode is a fan favorite character of the High Republic.
We know that the little blue fuzzy character's name is Nubs, which is adorable. And he looks
Before I knew that, I named him Henry Fuzzlebottom, which I got attached to that name. But Nubs is good too.
Nubs is good too. They look adorable, and I have high hopes. Vax Steele and Jordan Catley both ask what Vader did with Obi-Wan and Ahsoka's lightsabers.
We don't know. I assume he kept them as trophies somewhere. In Legends, he definitely kept Obi-Wan's lightsaber in his castle.
Yeah, we saw it a little bit in the show, where like in Fortress Inquisitorius, they have like little mementos, like little lightsabers and the Jedi youngling helmets, but they had them in these like glass cases, almost like a jewelry show thing. So I imagine they're on display there somewhere to hopefully invoke inspiration in the other Inquisitors. I don't know.
Yeah. I think that Vader kept Ahsoka's for sure, the one he found at the end of the Clone Wars. Obi-Wan's, I assume he picked up and put in his pocket or something, and then had it on the TIE Advanced when it got knocked away. I assume it didn't blow up on the Death Star. Even if it did, it's one of those things where it's like, Kylo Ren dropped his helmet on Starkiller Base, and then he had it again in The Last Jedi. So how did that happen?
It's someone picked it up. He's got a bunch of, people to help him out.
The magical prop fairy is what I like to think of. Is just there's a magical being that is like, you're going to need this later, and they'll pick it up and put it somewhere safe for them.
Or it's Tag and Bink.
Yeah, Tag and Bink did it. They're the magical prop fairies. Before moving on with questions, we wanted to talk about the Pottathon 2022, which is actually happening right now when this video comes out. Actually, right when this video comes out, I think, is also our segment.
It's our time slot.
Right. So once you're done with this, or if you want to finish this later, you can go watch us do a trivia competition with some of our friends, Zach Burkett.
Not just any trivia competition.
Oh, yeah.
This is going to be the hardest in the world.
Is it? Well, that's up to our viewers.
Yeah.
Because we have different tiers of questions, and it's going to start out really easy. It's going to be very boring unless people donate to Make-A-Wish. The whole Pottathon is done for charity to support the Make-A-Wish Foundation. The more people donate, the harder the questions are going to get. So we have some ridiculous questions for our friends. We've got Jared from Nerd Academy podcast, Zach Burkett, Marie Wilson, and Gold Leader from the Schmodown. We're not competing for once. We're going to take a step back and host, and we're going to torture our friends with your help. So go check out the Pottathon. If you're watching this after our segment, there are still a ton of guests that are going to be on throughout the day. People like Star Wars authors, Lucasfilm employees, Seth Green from Robot Chicken, and a director called Ryan Johnson is going to be
Doesn't ring a bell.
Ryan Johnson will be interviewed by Alden Diaz of Octo Radio. I think that is near the end of the day. But there's going to be a whole lot of shows going on throughout the Pottathon 2022, which is happening right now. The link is in the description. So go check it out and support Make-A-Wish.
There's also going to be a bunch of stuff that is raffled off. So anyone who makes a donation...
$5.
$5 or more... will get their name entered into the raffles.
And I think it's every donation of $5 or more will get you entered into the raffle again. So yeah, there's a lot going on, a lot of cool prizes you can win, and a lot of good we can do for Make-A-Wish right now.
On to YouTube questions. MC Lego Boy wants to know what one non-force sensitive character we would want on our side in a bar fight.
So yeah, let's say we're in the Mos Eisley Cantina and Ponda Baba pushes us over. And we get up and we punch back. We're in a bar fight now. Who do you want on your side? I've got my answer.
You gotta go with Chewie, right?
I was gonna go with Black Chrysanthemum.
Well, those seem pretty equal.
We're pretty much on the same page here.
Yeah.
I think Black Chrysanthemum would fight dirtier.
Sure. Well, we don't know.
But he's probably not as loyal as Chewie.
Mm-hmm.
Black Chrysanthemum's just got more armor. We've seen him in a bar fight.
There's a chance that the assailant would be able to talk Black Chrysanthemum into being on their side.
That's true.
And then they would both beat you up.
That is a fair point because Chrysanthemum's loyalty is bought with money until the Book of Boba Fett. I will say, for the sake of argument, this is pre-Book of Boba Fett, that Chrysanthemum is more of a mercenary. I do think Chewbacca has loyalty going for him.
Mm-hmm.
I also think that they fought like twice in the comics now, and I think Chewbacca has won both times.
Yeah. I think my only other answer that I thought of was Cad Bane.
Well, I want Cobb Vanth.
He seems like a good one to have in a bar fight.
I think they both could just shoot anyone.
Mm-hmm.
But again, like Cad Bane, I think would be more willing to shoot people, and Cobb Vanth might... He's got a little more of a lawful good nature, where he might not be willing to go as far as I need him to do to save me.
True.
I'm considering myself to be useless in this bar fight.
Same. Michael Caddick asks if we'd want a movie about Qi'ra set in between The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi.
Nah.
I love Qi'ra's character, but I can't tell you how many questions. What if we got Qi'ra in this? What about Qi'ra this? What about Qi'ra this? I don't need to see it. I don't need to see a movie about Qi'ra. I would love Solo 2, just to continue that story and see what that looks like, her on Dathomir with Maul and everything. But we see that kind of in the comics.
That's really what I was going to say, is the comics have covered that story. That's what we're getting right now. So I don't think we need a movie about Qi'ra at that point in time. Just let the comics do that. I would much rather get live action Qi'ra as some sort of follow-up to Solo. Whether it's a Crimson Dawn series or in Lando, or they do a Solo series or a Qi'ra series. I would much rather Emilia Clarke come back for that. I don't really need to keep exploring the original trilogy era over and over and over, especially in a movie. We're not going to get a movie until at least 2024, maybe 2025. So I'm do something completely different than more original trilogy stuff.
Hinbra wants to know if we have any expectations for Skeleton Crew.
Not really. I mean, there's so little to know.
All we know is that Jude Law is in it.
And it's about kids.
Yeah.
I mean, I am hopeful that it pulls off that same kind of magic that Stranger Things did. I don't think it's going to be a carbon copy of Stranger Things, but just that feeling of little kids on an adventure, like E.T. or The Goonies. Those are fun stories. So I'm just hopeful for a fun, lighthearted story, and I assume it will connect with the Mandoverse, I guess, for lack of a better name.
Remind me of the time frame for this.
Same time as the Mandalorian.
Okay.
They've said it's part of that storytelling side of the universe.
I mean, we talked a little bit about the possibility of Jason Syndulla showing up.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
I don't expect it.
No, I don't either.
It would be cool.
I really don't have any expectations.
But, you know, Hera is going to be in the Ahsoka series. And, like, what is going to draw her away from her son at that point in time? And he would be probably an appropriate age to go on an adventure. So maybe Hera is joining up with Ahsoka because her son ran off and she's like, let's look for Ezra and Jason.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Anthea the Tiefling asks if the dark side can be used for good reasons.
I mean, I think technically, but that's kind of the philosophical debate within Star Wars, is that once you start down the dark path, forever will it dominate your destiny. That, yeah, I think that you can rationalize using the dark side to achieve something good, but then you have to ask, do the ends justify the means?
Yeah. I mean, quicker, easier, more seductive. I don't think so. This is a complicated question.
Yeah.
Because you're using the dark side. How can it be for good reasons if you're tapping into the dark side? Because chances are you're tapping into the dark side for something violent or invasive.
Let's say someone is going to kill someone else unless you stop them. Is force choking them a good enough? Is that a good enough reason to use the dark side of the Force? To use the Force to attack someone?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
Using the Force for defense, never for attack. Like, that's kind of what Yoda taught.
And it's like, you would be using the Force to defend someone who needed help, but is using a dark side power justifiable in that? I actually think that we might explore this in Tales of the Jedi, because there is a scene of Dooku choking someone, and it does look like he is defending a town, but Qui-Gon's like, stop, you're going too far. And I think that we might see in that moment that he is being the aggressor more. Like, that could be a situation that could be handled diplomatically, and he's like, nah, I'd rather fight. I don't like that. That's definitely a question that Star Wars has brought up. Elzar Mann in the High Republic is a great example of someone who touches the dark in the Rising Storm, and they use that. They do use that for what I would argue is good. That's the thing, is just using the dark side is not a good idea, but everyone does it. It's just learning to not rely on it. And the more you rely on it, the easier it gets. And so, yeah, if you're like, yeah, I'll use the dark side for this one little thing.
Slippery slope.
Yeah. And then you'll use it for this other thing. And you'll use it for less and less noble reasons. I think that's more, just as long as you're conscious of what you're doing.
Yeah. I think the way to spin this for good reasons is to look at the big picture. If someone taps into the dark side, eventually, hopefully, the good reason will be to learn to not do that. To learn that, like, this is a path I could go down, but I'm choosing not to. Mm-hmm. So, overall, a good reason.
Yeah.
For learning experiences.
I think it's a good question. And I think it is a question that Star Wars brings up, is like, when is it right to fight and when is it wrong? And like Elzar Mann using the dark side of the Force to find out where the Nihil are so that they can go stop the Nihil. I'm like, yeah, good reason. But then he does not feel good about that. And he goes and like serves with Orla for a while, and he tries to find some peace within himself. Mm-hmm. Like, you can do it, but it's going to hurt you in some ways, I guess, is the lesson.
Yeah, I mean, Luke taps into it in Return of the Jedi, getting into Jabba's palace with the guards, and then, fighting Vader. And you see how confident he starts out, going into Jabba's palace, and then by the end of the movie, when he taps into it, he's like, oh man, what am I doing?
Mm-hmm. And it's all those things I would say are arguably good reasons. And even at the end, like, killing the Emperor would be a good reason, but the ultimate end result of the dark side is being like Vader. Like, anger just turns you into a shell of a person. That's all the time we have for questions today. If you want to leave a question for next week's video, just put it in the comments below or sign up for Patreon to join our weekly Q&A discussion. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel.
Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok.
And as always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.